Good day, everyone. This is Rick. As Paul tells us in the book of Romans, that all humanity knows God's truth in their hearts. And sometimes people will act out God's truth because they just know it's the right thing. They don't know why. They don't know where it comes from. They just feel and know that it's the right thing. However, all humanity falls from God, falls far short of God. And even though we know His truth in our hearts, our desires and our opinions become our gods. And that's reflected in idolatry. That's one of the reasons the Lord spoke out against idolatry. We craft things, images that have no life to them. And life, remember, means to be united with. So there's no uniting with God through any of these things, but they are used by us as a higher authority to justify what we want. And humanity's been doing that throughout the centuries, and we do it today. Only we don't make wooden images or carvings out of stone. We have science. We have politics. We have philosophies. We have movies. How many movies do you see that reflect a spiritual overtone? The first one that comes to my mind is the Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but you got to understand the overtone of what's going on there. They talk about the darkness and the light. All of these things people latch onto as a greater entity so they could justify what they want and achieve what they want, and then they attribute it to that higher entity. And we're no different now in that respect than we were back in the Stone Age days. Opinions and our desires are our gods. And that reflects what God gave me this past week. I had a dream one night the other night, and it was a reoccurring dream I had all night long. And when God gives me that, there's a reason He's given me that. And it was basically reality versus fantasy. Spiritual reality is God's truth, His nature. Spiritual fantasy is all of the opinions and desires and idols that we have as human beings to justify our existence, to justify our lives, and justify all those feelings of ours. Why do we need those to justify? Because we know in our heart it is wrong. We know in our heart that God's way is reality, but we don't like that. We love the fantasies that we live in. In modern society, we have all kinds of fantasies. And, sports and entertainment, those are fantasy worlds, but we don't live in them. We just enjoy them, and we move on with the reality of our lives. And spiritually, it's the same thing. The fantasy God gave me in these dreams is a very controversial modern-day topic. It's transgenderism. But it can apply to anything, not just that. But what it is it's not just having fun with it. It's not just enjoying it from an entertainment value or just something to break away from the cares of life. This image is used in a fantasy way in order to live out your reality. Your fantasy becomes your reality, and in that reality that you've created, you're ignoring God's reality. And God has told me a long time ago that sin is from our desires. It is around all of this deception that Satan gives us that we turn into our fantasy reality that we want to live in, and we build up walls against God and use every idol we can think of to justify our reality. I don't know if all that makes sense to you, but when I had a dream like that, I know what God is telling me, and I just feel I need to get that out. Live the reality of Christ, of God's nature in you through Christ, by the power of the Holy Spirit. And everything in this world will be nothing but just fluff to you. It won't either make sense or be totally unimportant to you. Until next time, God bless.